All right. Hi, welcome to episode 18, The Heroes You Deserve. My name's Henry.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Richard.
And this podcast, we are going to discuss Suicide Squad. And I think that's going to lead to another discussion. But Suicide Squad is going to be the major topic.
Correct. And be warned, from this point forward, we're going super spoiler heavy. So if you've not seen Suicide Squad, stop now.
And go watch Suicide Squad.
Go watch it, but stop now. Pause, because after this moment, it's kind of your fault. I don't want to hear you fussing in the comments. I don't want you fussing at us on Facebook or Twitter. This is on you. Spoilers are coming now.
Well, I think at this point, people who watch us on a regular basis know that we're going to go spoiler heavy. I mean, why watch a review of a movie that you're going to see?
Absolutely right.
And so, should we discuss what we have here in front of us?
Oh, we got something special, don't we? Okay, so one of our good friends and apparently one of the distributors of the lovely Chingon and Super Bee put us on to the fact that
you can actually
mix them to form Super Chingon.
Super Chingon.
So we're putting Super Chingon into our faces right now, and it's
pretty amazing.
Beautiful. I think we all agree it's pretty badass.
I already figured that stuff out. Get to figuring it out.
To be clear, they're not a sponsor. We just happen to really like their stuff, and we met one of their reps, and they were super cool to us. But nothing's being exchanged here. We want to be straight up with you guys. We'd let you know if we were being sponsored, or if we've been told to say this. We're all functional alcoholics. I think we can agree.
Right, we're always drinking in our podcast anyway.
So the fact that we've been given something delicious to drink is just...
Well, we were given the idea.
The tip.
Correct.
It was a tip. Hey guys, by the way, you can mix them together. Really? Let's try that. And that's what happened.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, so
back to the matter.
Back to the matter. And Richard and I saw it Thursday.
That's correct.
And Mike and Richard.
And then Richard and I saw it on Friday because he's a degenerate and had to see it twice.
Well, I had to see it in XD.
Right.
First show.
3D XD to be clear.
To be fair.
Which, those of you who don't have it regionally, XD is sort of the quasi IMAX that the poor man's IMAX that Cinemark provides. It's a large format screen, full surround sound, really the most immersive experience you can get outside of an IMAX at a approachable rate for the average viewer.
And I'm sure D-Box was available for that screen.
It was, and D-Box is yet another layer of immersion where the viewer can sit. And I think, what is it? Is it a motion feedback chair?
Yeah.
I've never paid for it personally. Reports from the wife and friends of hers that saw it during Magic Mike XXL. Get your laughs out now.
Right, people pay me for my D-Box.
Yeah, so apparently it does add a layer of immersion to the film
sure.
that I've not yet experienced, but maybe one day.
All right, so Suicide Squad, I guess, where do we begin? I mean, Mike, where should we start off with? Did you like it?
Okay, first of all, let's just get that out of the way. I did enjoy the film. It was fun.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the prevailing theme from me, is that I enjoyed myself during the film. It was a lot of fun. I liked seeing characters that I've read about realized in live action. So that was where I really enjoyed the film. I liked seeing Deadshot. I love seeing Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn was just perfect. Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney stole every scene he was in. I only wish there was more of him. Jay Hernandez Diablo was a surprising character that I thought was just going to be an afterthought, and he played a pivotal point in the film. I mean, he was a legit badass, and they treated him as such. I didn't expect that. That was a nice treat. Will Smith was sort of just Will Smith.
He was playing Dr. Phil. I mean, not Dr. Phil, but Uncle Phil.
He was playing Uncle Phil. Let's be honest. He was
the
seasoned veteran of the team. He had the most experience in that sort of work. So
it was very Will Smith, Margot Robbie.
I think the role was the role, and I think if anybody can play that role, it's Will Smith. I mean,
sure, and he was enjoyable too. I'm not trying to put a knock on it.
But you don't think Deadshot was too much Will Smith and not enough Deadshot?
100% yes. Yes,
well,
that's a fair assessment.
I'm looking at the two versions of Deadshot that we've seen. Okay, for those of y'all that watch Arrow, if y'all are Arrow fans, if
that's right.
Season 1 of Arrow, or even maybe parts of season 2, they did already introduce Deadshot.
We've been a version of Floyd Lawton, yes.
And he did start off very much as just your assassin for hire, and yet in the backstory that we saw in Suicide Squad, Will Smith or Deadshot was very similar. Being very hard-nosed. Hey guy, you owe me this money. I'm gonna shoot this guy. Yes or no? It was very by the book. I'm a hitman. This is my job. You gonna pay me or not? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. You know what? Double it because you're being a jerk. Okay, fine. All of that pretty much even keel.
And at his core, a family man. I get what you're going. I get where you're going. Yeah.
And in Arrow, we grew to like Floyd Lawton because he was conflicted. And so as I'm watching Will Smith's performance of Floyd Lawton, it wasn't that dissimilar to the one we got on Arrow. I think that character is already kind of just in the comics being... I see how people can say, well, it was Will Smith, whatever.
Honestly, once you hit those beats, you kind of have a lot of leeway one way or the other.
He's very charismatic. He's very funny, but yet the motivations were still very similar to the Deadshot of Arrow. I didn't see that much difference in the two characters at all. I just think that Will Smith is much more charismatic.
Well, to be fair, there's certainly a more of a street edge to Will Smith's portrayal, and that's not to say it's strictly because he's an African American actor.
But he played up the part.
He absolutely did. That added some flavor to it. I'm not going to say it didn't.
So I don't know that he ruined it or that.
That's not at all what I was getting at.
He played in Suicide Squad was very similar to the one we've gotten in Arrow.
But you could argue that this is not dissimilar from other characters he played in films, where he's just the badass guy.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Independence Day.
Correct. I mean, this is sort of the same criticism people give to Tom Cruise, that when he's in a film and he's playing an action role, he tends to be like this unbeatable action guy.
If you have this role, then who better than Will Smith to do?
Oh, I don't disagree at all.
I think he still played enough of a bad guy.
But there's a will, there's a way.
Henry J., ladies and gentlemen.
How does he do this?
It's sorcery. It's sorcery.
I actually thought Will Smith and Deadshot was a strength of the movie. I thought that obviously.
We lended the gravitas to it. He was the cornerstone on which the film was based because he is a draw.
And not only that, though, story-wise, I mean, he proved himself a badass just in the story. That I think the others in the group looked up to him, and the fact that he was not. We
got enough of Deadshot.
Yes.
To see that he's capable.
Yeah.
Yes, he will do what's necessary. He can handle himself when he gets called out on a human level. He's brought to task by Rick Flag,
and he
answers it, and I think in an organic fashion. Mm-hmm. There's little bits though that are very Will Smithy.
There's lots of little bits throughout the movie that kind of like
didn't quite land, but I mean,
Rare Fish Prince kind of.
No. That's good actually, because it's a little too jokey for the character's sake. I mean, I get that he's kind of aloof and sure of himself in his skills, but some of it didn't quite land. There were certain jokes that just didn't quite land, where you can tell the writer was very in love with the line and kept it in. So it ended up in the final cut, and I get it. They got laughs. Don't get me wrong. These moments resonated with the crowd we were in. I don't know, in y'all's viewing, did the jokes land pretty well?
Quiet viewing the entire movie.
There were a couple of laughs, but
it was
like in the Friday crowd, which was I guess more lively from their accounts from Thursday's crowd. The jokes were landing, the action beats were getting the oohs and ahs that they were required to get. Overall,
I thought it was interesting, though, as an aside, as a sports fan, I thought it was interesting to use a Phil Jackson triangle joke, because most of the people in that audience have no idea what he's talking about.
I'm going to be honest, that was a little over my head.
To be fair,
some comic book people
but they really don't know that much about basketball and the triangle offense.
I don't know who Phil Jackson is. I don't know what trans.
I mean, that was, and like I said, whoever decided to put that joke in, it's cool for those of us that follow basketball and that understand what he's talking about. But I'm sure there was a lot of people.
I think this is the perfect time for an aside from Richard explaining the triangle offense.
Oh, I don't understand it. I just know that it's a thing.
Explain it.
I just know that Phil Jackson, when he was with the Bulls, he had Michael Jordan. He brought in this offense called the triangle. And don't ask me to explain it to you, because he's the only one that knows how to run it. No other coaches in the NBA since. Others have tried, but not to the same effect. when he went to go coach at the Lakers, he took the same offense over there and he won more championships. So he's like this Zen master guru of the triangle offense. And now that he's at New York Knicks, he doesn't have the personnel to run it, and that's why the Knicks are struggling, because he is stubborn and he's hired coaches that it has to be the triangle offense.
I'm sorry I asked.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Again, the fact that Will Smith and that joke was written definitely went over a lot of people's heads, and yet they went with it. And that's cool for those of us that know sports. It was cool.
I want to say that it was one of those moments where, like, I get that the line was supposed to be funny, and so I kind of chuckled along with it, because I'm like, oh, that's probably funny for reasons I don't get.
Yeah, reasons.
So, see, they're just taking the piss right out of me right now.
We talked about that. So that's a good segue. Let's talk about character. It's dissected by character. So I guess the next one is Harley Quinn. So Richard, we'll start with you this time. Harley Quinn, thoughts?
I hate saying that a person was born to play a role, or that it was the perfect iteration of the role, but a character like Harley Quinn is so iconic, and one can. It's bewildering to me how she's become so iconic, but she is, and she started off in the Batman animated series. She was so popular in that cartoon that DC decided to introduce her into the comic books. She was not originally in the comic books at all.
Correct.
She was created for the Batman animated series, but she was so popular in the few episodes that she was in that they brought her into the comics. And it's just, she's essentially DC's version of Deadpool.
Right, and it's worth noting that she started off as a goofy, love-struck lackey.
Yes, she was not very well fleshed out. They've done so much with her backstory since then. But she's just so...
They've missed some beats fleshing her out in the comics of late.
Well, not in the New 52. I think in the
No. That's where I was getting at. Is that like they started off kind of just writing her off as this hypersexualized, really just sycophantic follower of the Joker, and that is absolutely a part of who she is. But lately, the writing has empowered her a great deal. It's paired her with Poison Ivy. It's paired her with Power Girl. Really brought her into her own as her very own character, and it's not this extension of the Joker.
Right. But they were also reminding us the fact that before she fell in love with Mr. J, she is a psychiatrist. And she has obviously the powers of manipulation.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So she knows exactly,
and is not afraid to use her sexuality to do it.
We were talking about this earlier. There's so many different little moments in the movie where you can see how she's trying to manipulate things for her benefit. And Margot Robbie she did such a great job with it. I could not have.
On that much, we agree. Yes.
I think that I think from this movie, you're only going to want to see. Warner's is going to try and figure out how many different places we could put.
Solo movie.
That's already something that's almost been greenlit already. Yeah, for sure. So definitely a plus for the movie. Harley Quinn, in everything that she's in, is pretty spot on. Just really good job. Most people are going to agree that she was one of the highlights of the movie for sure.
Absolutely, yes.
Did you want to expand on your thoughts on Harley Quinn?
No, I think you covered the right beats on what it is that I felt even on her character. She had very human moments during the film that struck a chord, and then of course the same silliness that we're used to from the comics. I don't think you can fault her or the writing on that character at all, except of course she was again very sexualized. But I mean she's
always been.
They didn't cast Margot Robbie by accident. She's easy on the eye. She's a fantastic actress, but there were some cringy moments where it was a little too overt that she was being used as eye candy, where they were doing the from behind shots a little too egregiously. It's not a detriment to the film. I understand why they do these things, but it's still, it can become a little cringy, especially when you're mixed company.
Yeah, maybe you got young ones in the audience. It may be a little bit uncomfortable for you. They may not even be paying attention to it, but you sure are.
But right, you put her in booty shorts and people are looking at the ass. It's gonna happen.
You're gonna notice.
I had my attention.
Yeah.
One minor critique that I saw in regards to Harley Quinn is, what did she want? I mean, because obviously she was in the life of crime with Mr. J, and she's happy in that. But when they went into her mind and what she really wanted was a non-crime family, household, husband and wife kind of thing. So it made it seem like it was two opposite ends of what Harley Quinn is.
Well, Harley Quinn originally started trying to cure him, and don't most women think they can change their man?
Amen.
So I think somewhere in the deepest recesses of her manipulations, I mean, could we agree that she maybe even tries to manipulate her own self?
Sure.
So this is possible.
Yeah, I get that. Right? It's a very human thing to do, though.
Yeah. This is a very possible thing that she may want, and he's referring to a scene where the Enchantress gets into the minds of certain these characters.
Every one of them, actually.
Them a reality that maybe they would want to do, and that the reality is her married with the Joker, and they have a family, and that it's like this normal life. In fact, she even pushes the button normal on the setting. I don't know if you noticed. It's like the washing machine.
That's right.
And she pushes the normal setting, but it's normal to her. You can't take anything with Harley at face value. Nothing. Because we don't know who the real Harley Quinn is. And I think the movie did a really good job of depicting that. Because every time you think, like I was talking to you all about this earlier, there's this one scene that really got to me when the Joker dies, and she's like
presumably
in this car. Yeah, and she's sitting on this car completely just not Harley. She's like just been stripped down. And then like the gang kind of shows up and she sees them and she kind of props herself like up again and does like strikes a pose and like pretends to be Harley again.
She kind of just turns it back on and, like, okay,
and the way
hello
Margot,
boys.
The way Margot did that, I mean, it was like so sad. Like I just felt for her, but she is who she is, and she's a fighter, and she's going to use whatever weapons she feels that she has, and she's going to just keep moving forward. So that image of her normal life could be a possible one fragment of what maybe she thinks she would want with Joker. But, we didn't get to see enough of their relationship to know, if he's abusive with her, which he is, but we didn't see that.
In a way, I felt it was kind of a little bit of a peek behind the Joker's mask even.
Right.
Wherein you saw that human moment where the Joker may use levity to disguise frustration or anger, or sadness or any other normal human emotion he might feel. He'd use levity to disguise it, like even when it's something horrible, like murder or hatred. It's always hidden behind that mask of levity. Harley, we saw this very personal human moment behind her where she's like, okay, yeah, I am crushed. Yeah. That the person I love is dead.
She's extremely intelligent, and she knows that she can't.
And there was that tiny moment behind the scenes where you see where they switch it off.
Yeah.
And okay, now we're just back on.
Yeah.
Now we're back on. The levity's back on. Now I'm the manic creature that you know and love, and none of what happened matters because I'm crazy. And it's a little bit of a peek behind maybe some of what the Joker is, and it's one of those stories that you really wish would get the push it deserves.
Most of us, and I know.
Even from a comic standpoint, we have never gotten the full definitive version of the Joker that I think that we'd all like to know. We've gotten glimpses of it
on purpose,
and that's by design, obviously. But something like that.
With this introduction to these two, that we just want to see more of them.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think.
For all the weirdness with the actual character design, with the art director, with the Joker, I think we can agree that. And we were let me know if you feel differently. But Jared Leto's portrayal of this romantic, albeit psychotic version of the Joker, very 50s gangster.
Well, that could segue into our next character to discuss.
Sure.
So Joker, now it's your turn to start off with.
I started Harley. But I can start Joker.
Start Joker.
Sure. Bang it out.
Okay. This is probably going to be the most controversial character, I think, because we've seen...
The look is pretty jarring.
We've seen so many different versions of the Joker. And this is one of the things that... It's so hard, when you're starting out a brand new universe like DC is doing, proper now, right? This is the third installment in their DC movie universe. they're not going. Obviously, Heath Ledger is gone. Obviously Jack
What?
Nicholson is
Spoiler alert,
old.
sorry.
Obviously, all of these actors. So now you have Jared Leto, who is an Academy Award winner. He's a big-time method actor guy. The guy's supremely talented. But what is he going to bring to the table? Well, what is he going to do? I was genuinely creeped out by this Joker. I think I have no idea where he's coming from. Now, to be fair,
He was a plot device, though.
I don't know. Yes, that's fine. And they use them that way. But I'm not 100% sure. After the second viewing, I'm not 100% sure it was love more than I want my property back.
No. Here's where I'm going to differ
ahead.
on that. The scene where he is sort of
On the floor?
when they're in Ace Chemicals and
Yeah.
he is sort of putting to Harley these terms on which they're going to exist.
Yes.
Will you?
Okay,
die
that's
for me?
fine. But that's
Sure.
but that's
Will
at the
you live
beginning.
for me.
Yeah.
And then she chucks herself into the vat.
And he walks away.
And he walks away, and then all of a sudden, the pool.
That's fine.
For what reason? Other than she put the same test to him without even saying it.
And that's great. That's awesome. But you're implying that he feels the same way we feel. But I'm not talking about that. Yes, okay, that's fine.
That was a very human moment. And
But
I think
I'm
that
talking
was,
about-
again, one of the better bits of writing in the film that didn't get enough service because we're seeing this odd act by Harley, to be honest, of throwing herself in. It's a very extreme means of trying to pull in a reaction from your significant other.
Right.
Obviously this suicide attempt, you'd have to call it, of chucking yourself into the vat of chemicals, and him walking away at first is very characteristic of the Joker. Like, oh well, I had no feelings for you. I was just trying to manipulate you into loving me, and then. Is it a feeling of property? Because I get where you're coming from with that. Is it he wants his property to be safe, or does he actually care?
Well, that's my point.
There was that anguished face he put on.
But we know enough about in the comics that we're not 100% sure it's true love. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think they left it ambiguous enough in the movie. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, he was acting like this lovesick puppy. I'm not 100% sure that the second half of the movie,
I don't know if I call it that necessarily.
you could argue that he just wanted his property back.
I think it was reckless heroism, not
Did
puppy
he
love.
push her out of the helicopter?
No, she fell out, and they
I
both
think
basically fell back.
I think he pushed her out. Rescued her
by chucking her out.
I think so too.
Rescued her because you think it's like they got us dead to rights.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll survive this
Right.
probably.
That's how I viewed it.
And then there's that another moment where he made a decision that's very uncharacteristic of the Joker. I like this iteration.
You like
of
this
him.
version. You like
I
him.
like this romantic Joker.
You like it because there's a lot of people that don't.
I get why they don't.
Yeah,
It's not
okay.
canon. It's not what we're used to.
Yeah,
It's not
so
our Joker.
They're giving us a different
it's not a
angle,
bad
but it's
version
not
of it.
bad. I mean, the acting was spot on. He was creepy when he needed to be creepy.
Like they based him on the cartel version of
Still,
what I've read.
still dangerous.
He's
Still
man
not
when,
something
when he makes the guy kiss the
in
ring
the same room,
and he just kind of pauses and then he climbs on his lap. That felt like he meant it.
like you meant it.
I was like,
Again, another good bit of writing
Yeah.
that was executed perfectly by Jared Leto.
There were definitely flashes of brilliance. There were maybe some stuff that didn't hit perfectly.
I wish there was more of it. I get that he was just sort of
but he was definitely
seasoning on this story, and I wish that wasn't the case.
And it needed to be tempered. We can't have too much Joker in a Suicide Squad movie, because then it becomes a Joker movie. And he's never been a member of the Suicide Squad.
Don't we deserve a Joker movie?
Sure, maybe he'll be the bad guy in the Batman flick. He could be.
Presumably will be.
Yeah.
Well, one of the critiques, again, going back against this movie, we got even it
go for
out, that some people felt that Joker was too gangster with the grills. And
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. This is not a version of the Joker we've ever seen.
Sure,
It doesn't, but it doesn't make it
There's
wrong.
nothing historically that says like, oh yeah, this is
Okay,
just a
hold on.
Joker.
Jack Nicholson was kind of gangster also.
No, he was absolutely gangster.
Okay,
in a
it was just he just
completely
looked different,
way, though.
but he was still like a mob boss. If you want to think about it that way,
The 90s gangster.
that's fine. That's fine. So all they did is just updated it for our times. But he's still the same guy. He just looked different.
Yeah, no, running a mob
Yeah,
as a crew.
Yeah, he had a
crew, and I know that David Ayer, the director, looked on Instagram and Facebook at Cartel pictures, at their pictures, and their gold-plated machine guns and all these stuff, that the way they dress now, and they incorporated that, and I think it's fine. I think we don't need to see him in the. They still showed him in the tuxedo. They still showed him in certain outfits where you got to see the classic Joker, but I think they modernized it.
No,
and I'm fine
you're
with
right.
it.
We got more of that.
We're talking about a 75-year-old character
hostage and bringing Vicky Vale to a dinner date.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I get that aspect, and that was probably pulled off a little better by Jack Nicholson, if I'm honest. But this version,
plus it was a Tim Burton film.
So it kind of worked.
But sort of like to me.
Romanticized.
Sure. Other than Heath Ledger, and I'm never going to say he did a great job, but this is, other than Heath Ledger, this seems to be the most dangerous Joker, the most unpredictable Joker, I think.
Unpredictable, fair.
And I like it. It's interesting. I'm not going to say it's great.
I get it,
but it's interesting.
I'm giving it so much credit at this point. So I'm giving it so much credit because I'm looking into the writing and things that just weren't there. But you could see this version of the character. You'd never know what his motivation was, whether it was protection of Harley, whether it was love of Harley, whether it was,
and again,
he felt like he was just insulted, whether he felt he was giving due reverence.
He did kill Robin.
We know this from BBS.
We don't know which Robin, but he did kill a Robin because we saw the suit in BBS.
We know that he vandalized.
No.
Okay. What is he going to say?
To Batman.
Because when they throw up the title cards of each character,
yes,
and they mentioned Harley Quinn in her title card, and it says she took responsibility for killing Robin.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Well done.
I'm surprised you didn't catch it in the second view.
I didn't. I was looking at her picture probably.
To be fair,
So I read that.
So she took the blame.
She's assuming responsibility.
She's assuming responsibility.
Maybe she's taking that away from Joker just to take the heat off of him. Perhaps.
Maybe. But that's interesting. Also, that relationship that they have. Again, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that we can look forward to in the next and the next and the next. Because I guarantee you, we're going to see these guys in multiple movies. They're just too popular. I mean, they're already talking about Suicide Squad 2, and that's great. But we're going to see those two peppered around.
Right. So
we're going to see those two
the main
around.
acts. I think where Henry's about to go.
Yes. Well, next character.
How do we feel about? Okay, where are we going next, Hank?
You're okay.
Probably
Rick Flag.
Yeah, I was going to say Rick Flag.
Joel Kinnaman. Okay, I am a huge Joel Kinnaman fan. In general, I thought he was good in RoboCop. Yeah, I'm gonna be an outlier there probably, but his work on The Killing also stellar. His role holder, this ex-junkie police detective, endeared me to him, So Rick Flag was given not a whole lot to work with, to be honest.
That's when I read Tom Hardy was going to originally up for the role.
He'd have been great too. He'd have fit that sincere but stoic.
That just opens him up for Deathstroke.
Sure. Oh,
I'm just saying. So. Australian. I'm just saying.
You don't want to put him in a mask again? Come on, look at that face. Look at that face. Such a good point. But no, Rick Flag. Honestly, I felt like his story arc was one of the most damaged by some of these storytelling devices. We would have had so much more to deal with if we had felt his motivation throughout the film. So we get to this point where he's about to unleash Enchantress to defeat what we knew was her brother when he was running his little rampage through the subway. And then we just cut to something horrible happening and then activating, Task Force X. Mm-hmm. So we have nothing between then and what's happening now. And then later in the film, when they're having a very human moment in the bar, him explaining that, yes, we were sleeping together. This woman, I love her. She's inhabited by this creature. And when we tried to deploy her against this force that we thought we could handle, it turns out she was aligned with it, and she bolted and she rabbited on us. She's gone. And this is the woman I love, and I need her to be safe.
But you felt that he loved her.
Yeah, but that storytelling should have been.
No, I agree with
more
you.
linear.
I agree with you that the way they
Because
told
then those secrets held back would have had way more meaning moving forward. Every sentence that he didn't finish, every detail that he didn't give the crew would have been like, oh, I get what's happening with him.
but that's the
And
thing.
that would have given so much more weight. And then it was sort of like he got cut off at the knees. Now he's just sort of playing the foil to their hijinks for about a third of the film, and then he gets to be a character we care about again.
I think they were trying to figure out a way to make him part of the Suicide Squad. So bear with me here. Bear with me here.
Sure.
He wasn't. He was essentially just Amanda Waller's right-hand man. And the whole first time that we saw him, he's just like, yep, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And he's like, business, business, business. But after the first moment that we see them and they're running around, his own soldiers start questioning him. Even before the squad starts questioning him. And he has kind of like all these kind of vague answers because he's already going through...
no weight.
That's fine. That's fine. Because
the most information we had at that point was that it was need to know. That it was need to know, and he was playing that need to know card.
But it was. I mean, those people in the office got their heads blown off because it was need to know. Okay, so yes, it was clunky writing.
Again,
I'm not saying that,
sort of
but it was a creative choice, and it may not have worked for everybody. I'm not going to say that that went perfectly. I know what they were trying to do. It didn't work, but what I think did work for me was that it stripped the right hand man part of him, and he had to but he had to prove himself to the squad that he was just doing his job, but he messed up. And they've all made mistakes, right? Like, you know what? I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm the special forces guy, and I'm this and I'm that.
Part of me wants to look at that particular thread and say that they played really fast and loose with that character throughout the film, and then decided, at this point, you're important. At this point, you're important.
Well,
you were just sort of...
I'm not going to go important, not important.
Playing an archetype.
I'm just saying
until now. Yeah. Now you're human. Now you're human.
Yeah. And that's just basic storytelling. It wasn't great. It's
lazy.
I'm saying it's basic. So I'm not saying it's accomplished. It's basic storytelling. And it
serves a purpose.
Yes.
And it gets you to a point in the story, but
once
the best work they
I said it wasn't. But once we get into the bar, his acting, I think, sold it. Just the pain, and it wasn't the best execution. That was one of the poorer executed parts of the movie.
He was doing well when he was challenged by Waller to go ahead and call the people you're going to call and get you off this team.
Right.
Go ahead and make those things you need to do happen. He had his moments before then, and we were already starting to get little threads of like, okay, this guy's going to be.
Because even like when
the team can lean on,
when Harley escapes,
he would be on their side against Waller. When they're up against her, and they're working not so much against her, but I guess in contrast to what her orders were.
They're just surviving. That's all they're doing.
Right.
They're just following orders to survive.
Understand why he wants them to succeed.
Yes.
Because why not just cut and run?
Yeah.
Why not just cut and run at that point?
Well, but he's in love.
The plane has gone to hell.
Yeah.
We get that. I mean, we've been given small snippets of what this one means to him, but we don't know that it's that much. We just saw that short interaction in the thing.
We didn't see it
again. That's small.
Yeah,
edit really would have made the difference. And it's nitpicky. I get it.
No, it's fine. It's valid. But it's valid. It is valid. But I think that I actually at the end of the movie I liked his character more. Maybe I didn't like the way.
They lost me at the hug.
I didn't like.
At the end of the day, you would say.
I didn't like that. I didn't necessarily like the journey that they got to.
The hug felt way out of character too.
It did. That did. But there was
one of those funny lines that the writers were in love with and didn't want to see cut.
But there was an interesting reaction. I was watching his reaction when Harley escapes and Deadshot misses. There's relief on his face, like he really didn't want Harley to die. And this was right in the middle of the movie. This is before.
No, I agree.
So there were already elements where he was starting to understand, and some people have accused him of being like this patsy, like he wasn't a very strong character. Sure, but he found himself, and I think now he's much more connected with the squad, and I think they consider him more of a member than just their handler. And I think that was the intent. It wasn't a very good
mission change.
Yeah.
Now it's save your woman.
Right.
Save your woman.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna die probably.
But they backed him up, and they didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know, they said, you know, okay,
And
fine.
that's one of the cooler parts of the story.
Yeah, because when he busted that thing, they were free. He busted that thing in the bar.
So
He
far
goes,
as
you
they
know,
knew.
Well, but they were. I mean, technically, Harley still is, isn't she? I thought about this later, because Waller had the thing, and they all wound up going back to prison.
Yeah, she doesn't.
But
Waller,
I don't think
what
Waller
happened.
realizes that Harley's is off. So anyway, I think Harley's free as a bird.
Okay, that moment of Boomerang.
Well, maybe in the report. You know, the report.
No. That moment of Boomerang doing
Boomerang walks out.
pulling a runner.
Yeah.
Everybody says like, "All right, you're free." And he
Yeah, that was funny.
just skitters off.
He just takes his stuff.
Okay,
All right, let's go on to Boomerang.
as we're moving
Moving
on,
on to
Jai
Boomerang.
Courtney was the scene stealingest son of a bitch I've ever seen in a film.
Yes, I liked-
in
I
a
liked-
long time.
He was an awesome Captain Boomerang. Yeah,
Jai
for sure.
Courtney. We'll probably never see this, but shit, that was fucking hilarious. Every moment he was in the film, and I get that stupid unicorn thing was meant for giggles.
Sure.
And he made it work.
He'll probably be in the Flash movie, I'm sure.
God, I hope so. God, he was hilarious. He was perfect. He hit all the comedy beats without being rendered.
No, he was perfect.
He wasn't neutered in account of it. He was still a badass when it came down to it. When the chips were down, he was still fighting. And they gave Diablo a lot of shit for not fighting, and that fleshed itself out later in the story. But no, Boomerang was awesome. There was nothing not to like about his character, except there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah. So you want to go to Diablo then?
And it
Nothing else on
it seems to
Boomerang?
Well, I
segue
mean,
itself naturally.
Boomerang. What isn't okay? So for those of you that don't know, it's like, because look, there's a lot of y'all maybe that watch this and really know a lot about the Suicide Squad, and there's already been kind of like, well, why was Killer Croc in there? We hardly ever saw him. Why was Katana in there? You know, why was Boomerang in there? You know, even Diablo had much more of a presence in the movie than Boomerang did. To be fair, but Boomerang is a founding member. In fact, in this movie, there were only 2 founding members in this movie, and that was Rick Flag and Boomerang. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has been on the team back and forth, you know, as needed. But those were 2 of the original founding members on the comic. I thought the fact that he has no powers, you know, and this is another maybe a little nitpick here, but I'm gonna go out and say it.
Sure.
You know, Amanda Waller puts this pitch out to Congress. You know, we need to fight metahumans with metahumans, and yet there was only one
metahuman.
There was
Well,
only
to be
one.
fair,
Well,
that-
okay, the witch. I think she was counting on Enchantress, and she is very powerful. So I think she was counting on Enchantress to be on her side, and it backfired.
or to be the team anchor. as
Right,
it
and
were.
so Waller screwed the pooch on that one. But you take Enchantress out, and it's just Diablo. He's the only other meta. Everybody else is just, you know, they're just criminals. But they did address it in the script where Flag says, look, what are we wasting our time with these guys? Why don't we just take a team of SEALs and we train them to do whatever?
Well, no, Croc is a metahuman.
Well, he's not. He's just a mutated guy. He has no. He was just
really strong for a human.
Is he considered a metahuman or?
I'm gonna say yeah. It's a disease, but it
Yeah.
amplifies his strength and everything.
But okay.
Swim underwater.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, his skill set wasn't necessarily apt for the task at hand.
Found of use from.
Plus,
Yeah.
they found a use for.
They found a
Aquaman.
use-
They
yeah.
shoehorned
They
one
found a
in.
use for, yeah,
They found a
Aquaman
use
in
for
this
him.
film.
But I think Boomerang did the best he could. I think he was great comic relief. He and Harley were, I think, the funniest.
Bullshit. I think him and Katana had good chemistry.
Well-
They didn't let that happen.
But maybe we'll see what happens there. But yeah, he was very enjoyable.
Unrequited
Yeah.
romance.
He was very enjoyable.
Was pretty nice.
And he did even have some trick boomerangs. He had one that exploded, and he had one with a camera on it.
He had one with like a drone.
Yeah, so
boomerang.
they did get to show some stuff, but he was very funny, especially though like the fire and like ooh, you know, and like it was good stuff.
Yeah, the fly bloke, ain't you?
But yeah, I enjoyed Boomerang. I didn't have a problem with him at all.
All right, so let's move on to Croc. We just kind of discussed him. I mean, he didn't have a lot of.
He really could not have been in the movie, and I wouldn't have noticed.
Right, yep.
And to be fair, you know, it happens when you have a team like this.
Sure. Some get lost.
He was the Hulk.
And yeah, he's essentially the Hulk,
Sure.
you know, but they didn't make him go haywire in the helicarrier for 20 minutes to justify him being in the movie. This guy literally just had nothing to
come
do.
in and pull the puny god move, and then
Yeah, he had nothing. Really, Croc had nothing to do. He had a couple of cool lines. There was like a little kid in our theater when we saw it. You know, when Harley was telling everybody that everybody's beautiful on the outside, but they're ugly on the inside, and then she points to him. except for you, you're ugly on the outside. And it was like this little kid, probably 8 years old, laughing his ass off in the front, and he goes, "No, I'm beautiful," and that little kid just loved it. So, he had his lines, but could he have not been in the movie and everything would have been cool? Yes. Because the SEALs could have done what he did.
Really forgettable.
He didn't need to be there, but
I'm glad he was. He was cool to.
He was cool to see
on screen, in
but
live action.
he didn't need to be there.
His part was a crock of shit.
I'm running out of beer here, so.
Yeah, you can take it easy with the puns, man.
All right, next character.
Wait, did you want to elaborate
be punished.
on Croc? Anything on?
No, there's really nothing to add on Croc.
Okay, let's go with Katana.
Same kind of.
Kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's really no
they did their
explanation.
best to sort of humanize the character, but it was perfunctory.
There's really no explanation as to why she's there. I would have liked.
Well, no. Rick Flag explained that she was
More of a
there
chaperone.
to act.
So she's an asset, Argus asset, but she's not a criminal.
No.
So
Argus asset.
she's just
She
an
was
Argus
brought
asset.
on under those auspices.
Yeah, just as a make sure he doesn't get
Yeah,
X.
like
as
if
backup.
I get killed,
Yeah.
she's gonna kill you,
Yeah.
and your soul will be trapped in the sword. So
It just would have been nice to
get
see
wrecked.
more of her, but it's hard when you have so many characters.
Yeah. All right, Richard. Diablo.
Big surprise, I think, for probably most people in the movie. I know I was surprised. I know very little about him from the comics. I know that I do know that he's a meta. I do know that has fire powers. But man, I think they did a great job. I think Jay Hernandez, last time you've probably seen him, he was a football player in Friday Night Lights.
Jeez, that's right.
I think he was also in another movie with Julia Stiles, I think. I'm not really 100% sure. But he's been missing for a while. He did a great job. I mean, everything about him, just the nature of the character, the fact that, he was just kind of this gangbanger.
Yeah, but another Latino role, and he's portraying a gangbanger.
Well, but that's the way he is in the comics.
Yeah, I know, but you're going to be some naysayers that are, stereotype.
Well,
They're not wrong.
Hey, and then they have a white gangbanger, and everybody's going to make fun of that because it's not authentic.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought that it was really cool that
He's white skinned. We don't know his ethnicity.
I thought it was really cool that the most powerful character, other than Enchantress, was Diablo. And that guy was a badass. And that scene,
toe to toe with what were essentially
basically
gods.
a wit. Yeah, they were, and this guy was legit, and he bailed their ass out. I mean, yes, he sacrificed, and I totally understood why he did it. I mean, he lost everything. It was all his fault. He was just kind of, he was going through his own form of contrition, but he found
I wish that story had been given the proper
Yeah.
reverence it was due. It felt glossed over. It was rushed.
But it was
kind of tacked on
Yeah.
at the end.
But there was lines that he said, like, "This is my family. I'm doing this for my family." Like he felt a connection with them, albeit as brief as it was. You could tell that he hadn't cared for anybody since the loss of his family, and this was probably the first time he had cared for anybody, and he was willing to do whatever it took for them. And when he busted out in that spectacle, man, it was awesome, man.
My
really
point
cool.
is that you could have easily revolved the film around him from start to finish, and you would have had an equally great film. It
From
would
his
have.
perspective.
Yeah, if you had started off that film,
But he was never going to be the leader.
No. Let's flush this out
Maybe it's a
from
point
go.
of sacrifice, perhaps.
Yeah, if you had started off this film seeing him, and then never mind like the Joker and Harley nonsense and Deadshot, even though they all deserve their due course throughout the film. If you had started off this film with him being this gangbanger, you open up to him being this gangbanger, and still kind of raising a family, and you give that a good solid 10 minutes of him doing that in the opening of the film.
You build that emotional rapport.
Build that up, and then see him fail, and then see him get arrested. Same way you saw Will Smith get arrested.
Right.
Say if they had done that.
But
would that have landed a little better?
let me ask you a question. Didn't you still have an emotional response to his part in the movie, regardless?
Again, I had the same perfunctory response as they made the perfunctory call to my emotions.
Because
it was very quick. It was very fleeting.
I don't know. Here's my
It was
point.
an afterthought, and I don't think that sort of story should have been an afterthought. It was very deep. It was one of the most human stories that they told in the whole film,
but you
and
tell
it
me-
really deserved to have been fleshed out because he played a pretty pivotal role in the film.
But who are you going to sacrifice for Diablo?
we just named two characters that could have easily been written.
So,
Katana
but, okay.
and Killer Croc.
Okay.
If we had paid seriously, that didn't need to happen.
But we would have a very small Suicide Squad without those two.
Who cares?
I understand what
It
you're
would have been
saying.
one we would have cared more about.
I understand what you're saying, but that just means that whatever
And
they
I'm just
did.
going for what I would have liked to have seen. Obviously,
Right.
what I did get, I'm happy with.
That's what I'm saying. That's all my point.
What
they gave us was very good, and that's the interesting thing about this movie. We got little snippets of greatness. And part of us, we just want to see more of it, and it gave us a feeling of lacking, that the movie didn't satisfy what it was like. One critic said that it was a movie full of potential, but it never realized its potential.
It was an antipasta plate, man.
and I can
It was little
agree,
nibbles,
and I can agree
but
with that.
You were never fully satisfied with them
Because it did such a good job of giving us little moments of these characters that made us want to see more of them.
It was an impasta.
I'm not going to drink to that one. That one.
No, I refuse.
No, it wasn't.
That's
When
on
you drink to your own pun, that's
just the ultimate sadness. And maybe
That's-
this should be filled with your tears.
That's my punishment.
I really like
I'm
Diablo,
stealing my
but I don't
punch
know. I don't know that for the mass audience that it would have made sense to give him more time.
Is that not more David Ayer though?
Absolutely, that's his bag of
Should
tricks.
that not have been like his?
And maybe that's why he said. And look,
hip?
and to be fair, would the reveal have been such a reveal if he had spent more time with him? I think the fact that the reveal when he just came out and did what he did, it had more of this like, holy crap, where did this come from? And we just liked him so much more. I don't know. It's look.
I want to
either
bounce this off you because I think this is something I thought of during watching the film. Okay, so I got during the initial phases of the film, a very lighthearted, almost Ocean's 11 type feel when they were doing the character intros. Imagine we had gotten more of like the Anton Fuqua type.
Oh, but we can't be super serious.
Dark. No. I get that.
Yeah.
That Warner Brothers doesn't want to do that because it's not in their eyes.
It's not that they don't want it. They were slammed for it for BVS. So now
they
it's
did a
like,
very ham-fisted attempt at it. Okay, in my opinion,
sure.
They did a very ham-fisted attempt at that sort of film.
That was the other word.
They wanted to be. I hate your faces. I hate your faces right now.
Go ahead.
So,
I knew there was another one. Yeah. Go ahead.
pardon my language, folks. So, we got what they attempted to make. They wanted to do more of the crime drama that, say, The Dark Knight was. And instead what they got was this disjointed attempt at making an action / sci-fi / superhero film that never quite landed, never quite hit the beats that it meant to, although it did have moments of brilliance because the story was one that we all wanted to see.
Yeah.
So we got this other story where we could have had this crime drama that, despite its subject matter, could have not been.
But Suicide Squad's never been that property.
That could have never been a Suicide Squad film and still be one you wanted to see.
Suicide Squad's always been kind of a tongue-in-cheek comic, though.
This team of misfit people that were brought together could have been your quintessential,
yes,
crime drama.
But
where
then you would have
these
people saying
odd
that's not
elements are brought
Suicide
together.
Squad.
Magnificent Seven type film.
But
Where
that's not Suicide Squad.
Isn't it though? At its core,
it isn't. It isn't. It's just this collection of misfits.
Couldn't have not been.
It could have, but that's not what it is in the comics.
Is Batman at any point in its history ever been a procedural crime drama? Because that's what we got with The Dark Knight.
There have been runs in comics where it's just been like the crime of the week. There have been.
Right.
And it was just like, whoa. And then they became like these longer arcs. But look, the comics have been around for 75 years. Suicide Squad's probably been around about 45 or 50 years. But it's always...
It's the 80s.
Yeah, since... okay.
I get where you're getting sort of...
I know what you're saying.
And I get where you're getting worked up because we're judging the film on what it could have been instead of what it is.
But that's the interesting thing. Because of what they gave us, we wanted more of what could have been.
Yeah, and that's sort of the best part of these sorts of films is that our appetite is now
they've whet our appetite.
Correct.
Because now we want
based on Marvel.
I'm talking about this movie right now. Do we want to see more Deadshot?
I do. I know there's plenty of people that are.
I want to see more Deadshot.
No, there's all too many people that are happy to dance on the perceived grave of the film because it wasn't great because it's being panned by the critical media at large.
Which is another topic we're going to see for the
Yeah,
next
it is
podcast.
one we're going to get to, but one worth touching on.
That's an elephant in the room.
No,
we're not going to touch it.
we'll
You
talk
know,
about it later.
I'm going to gloss over this very quickly because we are going to delve into this very in depth for your sake.
The fan versus critic.
This is something that I think y'all deserve. That this topic in particular deserves us getting into, and we're going to. This deserves a whole episode. But very quickly, I'd like to state that this film, I feel, has been the target of not a cabal,
Okay.
but a phenomenon that we're going to discuss. There's a phenomenon at play. It's at play with other aspects of popular culture that are subject to review through the lens of social media, and that deserves a discussion. This film in particular, I think, is being judged on a certain criteria that I don't think other films are being held to. I think that it's unfair. I think that the film should be judged on its own merits, not on, as I've touched on while we've been discussing this, what it could have been, what we wished it was, instead of not what it actually is. So I think that leads us into what our final thoughts were on the film.
I think the best way to sum it up for me is, I think most of us can agree that if I asked you right now, how many of you all want to see this version of Lex Luthor again from BVS, most people would probably say, "Yeah,
Right.
let's do somebody else."
I'm not a fan.
Right, let's do somebody else, and I can agree with that. But if I were to ask somebody, do y'all want to see Joker again? Yes. Do y'all want to see Harley again? Yes. Do y'all want to see Deadshot again? Yes.
Do I want to see any of them in a Suicide Squad film?
It doesn't matter, but we want to see them.
Seriously.
Well, you know what?
If each of these characters are given their own film, how stoked would you be?
But they did such a good job. That's what I'm saying.
As an ensemble, sure. But we're going kind of the opposite direction as
no,
Marvel,
but you see, you keep doing this to me.
No, where they create these ensemble films. Now we're going the opposite direction. I've seen the ensemble, but I have no meat on anybody. I think,
but that's fine.
Individual characters
that's not my point.
Their own
you went off to your own point. I'm just saying that.
No, I don't disagree.
That the movie did its job. It gave us a fun movie to watch while also introducing characters that we want to continue seeing.
100% yes.
And that's all that mattered to me. And I was worried. Don't get me wrong, I was, because I was a fan of BVS, and because there were a lot of more things. I'm more of a glass half full guy. I focus on the positive things.
Not this glass.
And did I say glass half full?
No, just my glass is
Mine is clearly
empty.
not.
So I tend to focus more on that, but I was worried about this movie, and I thought that this movie did enough that I think people had fun with it, and I think people they did a really good job introducing characters that we can't wait to see again.
Tell them about the crowds. Tell them about the crowds.
No, but I want to kind of segue off of that a little bit. And one of the things that I personally thought in my comparison of Suicide Squad, I think really parallels Guardians of the Galaxy, because you're getting two groups of unknown people that mainstream people have never heard of.
Well,
and they have a lot of history that they can manipulate, and people, the true fans, won't be
it's hard.
up in arms. But also, there's no solo films leading up to Guardians, and there's no solo films leading up to Suicide.
Everyone knew who the Joker was. Everyone knew who Harley Quinn was.
But people know who Harley Quinn and the Joker are.
There's known quantities going.
There are,
like
yes.
Katana,
But no, the fact
Yeah,
that
sure.
this misfit band brought together and represented them as a group instead of individual films, that's certainly where you could draw that parallel to Guardians of the Galaxy, wherein we didn't get these standalone Star-Lord or Groot or even Drax the Destroyer films or anybody else for that matter. We got this ensemble film, and now the idea of maybe doing a standalone film isn't unheard of.
And the movie was actually kind of based on a comic book story anyway,
Sure.
Nightshade Odyssey, because Enchantress does rescue her brother in the comic book. So that's kind of based off of the comic book story anyway.
An actual canonical story in
Yes,
a movie?
what?
What's happening?
There were. It was very closely. They did read a lot. David Ayer did read a lot of Suicide Squad comics, and it felt a lot like you were watching a comic book story. Just it felt that way, and maybe that's why. Sometimes comic book storytelling isn't the most jointed. I'm just looking for the opposite of disjointed. So there are some moments that I think David Ayer experimented. I think he took chances. They did not always land, but I appreciate that he took them, and I appreciate the work that I got from him. I thought that it was a very solid, enjoyable movie that I could definitely watch multiple times.
What would you rate it then on a scale of 1 to 10? Sir?
I am gonna give it an 8.
But I'm gonna remind you, sir, and I know you know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
When I saw this movie with you,
Yes.
Thursday night,
Yes.
at first you said, I'm going to give it a 6 because I don't want to.
What do you think? No, I said 6.5 or 7.
6.5 or 7
my.
because I don't want to be too much of a fanboy.
No, I don't want to be accused of being a fanboy.
But
Right.
then an hour or two later,
Yes.
you said, you know what, I'm going to give it an 8.
Yes.
Own your preference. You have words. You can defend your.
When I
preference
looked
for a
at him,
film.
because I really enjoyed it, but then I was like, holy crap, because everybody knows me, everybody knows I'm a DC guy, and I looked at him, and I didn't know, because he did not like
Surely not.
Batman versus Superman. He did not like it, and I did. So I looked at him, and I was like, and
It's not like fair though.
And the crowd in the room was like, there was no movement in the crowd. The crowd had no reaction, nothing.
Yeah.
So I looked at him, I go, what do you think, 6.5, 7? Because remember, I told him going in, I'm going to use Deadpool as a measuring stick.
good.
Because I gave Deadpool a 6. Because to me, it was just a collection of jokes with a very thin plot. And it was funny, yes, but I mean, the plot was very simple, a la Suicide Squad. So to me, those were kind of that's the way I was comparing
I
them.
don't agree that Suicide Squad's plot was simple.
It was simpler than Batman versus Superman.
I'll give you that.
Well, yeah.
Well, either way. So I
measuring
was
it against one of the most convoluted storylines in recent comic book movie history.
Touche, my friend. So I was using Deadpool as a barometer, and so when I already knew I had given Deadpool a 6, I looked at him. I said 6.5, 7, and he looked at me, and I think he was surprised that it was so low, and I said, look, I mean, everyone's gonna accuse me of just loving it because I'm a DC
100, it's
fanboy.
low, but out of 10, that's respectable. 70's passing.
But the more as I was walking out, and then he said, I liked it, and then I said, I did too, but. And then the more I thought about it, I said, I really want to watch this again. There was just a lot of moments that, the music, the pacing, the jokes,
Too much pop music, actually.
Too
many pop songs.
I thought that, here's one of the hits that I think they landed. I felt the music kind of like a Tarantino film with its own character.
Yeah, it was a character in the movie.
Some were spot on, but I thought it was maybe
some of it was a little too
or too many songs
on the nose.
Too many songs. I don't care if it was on the nose.
Damn it, I'm out.
So, what would you rate it, sir? 1 to 10?
I'd also give it a solid 7. I really enjoyed the film. I want to watch it again. I had my problems with it, obviously, but it wasn't damning. It wasn't a bad film.
No.
It wasn't. There was nothing inherently wrong with it. It wasn't any better or worse than anything I've seen from superhero films in recent memory.
No. It was some
Sony bastardizations and abortions aside that we will not mention in this podcast, but sure, I mean, there's certain movies that shouldn't have been made in recent memory that have been. I won't count this among them. This was fun. I want to see it again. I'm happy to buy their merchandise, as you can see. I'm happy to, once the film is released on Blu-ray, own it. This is a film that once it's on, even though I own the film, if I happen to catch it on cable, I'm going to be happy to sit through again, because there's moments in that film I'm going to want to relive. They're fun. And when I let the critical part of my brain shut the hell up for a second and just enjoy what's in front of me, I have a good time. And some people will say, but you're adding too many asterisks to that enjoyment, and I'm really not. I'm removing them.
We all get to enjoy what we enjoy.
I'm down the film to its core elements, and those core elements were hilarious, they were fun, and there's something I want to repeat. So, a solid 7.
You want to repeat Suicide?
I want a Suicide more than
And
once.
for those of you that are interested, the Blu-ray's already up for pre-sale at Amazon with a really cool Harley Quinn statue. Check it out. It's like $130.
Link in the description.
If you have, no, are you going to link it really?
Why wouldn't I?
If you have the disposable income that none of us really do, but the statue's pretty cool.
Right, and I think Assault on Arkham was kind of sort of, that movie became a success and it kind of launched them and pointed them in the direction.
I would go so far as to say that animated film informs this one.
Correct, yeah.
Link in the description for that as well, because you should probably own that as well. It's fun. That is actually a hell of a preface to this. If you want to see the film that maybe we could have gotten
Done
and
right,
might want to see in the future. No. Maybe you might want to see in the future. Then yeah, check that out because
it's very
voice
similar.
acting, good animation.
Maybe we should review it.
It's very good.
Yeah, maybe we watch
Hey,
it.
if y'all like
review
to
it.
see that, let us know.
I haven't seen
let us
it
know in the
lately.
comments. If y'all want to see us,
I haven't even seen it.
I have it on Steelbook.
if y'all would like us to review that Assault on Arkham for your sakes, let us know in the comments. We're willing to do that for you guys. It was awesome. I want to see it again and again. And I want to see Suicide Squad again and again.
All right, my review, I would give it a 7.
Yeah.
7. So, all right, that wraps it up. Episode 18, The Heroes You Deserve. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Richard.
So, follow us here. Comment below. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Later, guys. Bye.